I consider my role strictly ceremonial, just so you know. But I was asked to kick this off and get it to the point where we vote on a new chair. So I would like to call this meeting to order. I'll do the roll call. So Carrie.
Here. You said roll call.
Susan.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
And it's Eric.
Here with C.
Not to be confused with E-Rich. And are there a total of 8 of us?
There's a total of 6 of us.
Well, then we're in high cotton because I've got 5 with myself. Okay. The next item is to review and approve the minutes from the last meeting. I did not attend the last meeting, so I can't
You were
add
there.
or. Oh, I was. You're right.
Yeah, it was
because we
June.
didn't have a
We
meeting.
didn't have a July.
The only thing I noticed is Eric was not listed as an attendee, and I seem to remember you being.
That was it.
Yeah,
Okay, so should we write these things down?
I think Aaron probably is.
He's actually listed because he wasn't announced like in the roll call as being on the
But he
meeting.
was announced.
Introduced.
It's in the minutes as being introduced.
Yeah, he was
So,
introduced in section 6.
so Chris just overlooked you as ever.
Apparently.
Okay.
We have another member. Now, I do have one comment with regard to the minutes, even though I was here for it. But my name is spelled incorrectly. I knew
Has it been spelled incorrectly the entire time we've been doing this?
my name is not and never has been Christopher. It is just plain Chris.
It says Chris
There.
in the roll call.
But if you look at the top there someplace.
Oh, well, it's been wrong on there then the entire time we've been doing this.
And it slipped by me for 2 years. Okay, then.
Okay.
So do we have a motion to accept the minutes or do we want to amend them?
That's right. That's a good idea.
It is right.
Christopher, I motion that we accept the minutes.
And do we have a second? Second. Okay, thanks, Eric. And that gets us to
All right, we got a vote.
the the goals. Number 1, youth safety as a guiding principle.
Both sides.
Number 2, develop complete streets
Hey,
policy.
We do need to vote. We had a first and a second, but we just need to vote.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You are correct. All in favor of accepting the minutes as they are? Aye. Okay. Okay.
That's all. Smart.
Third item, develop a written traffic advisory commission process for evaluating citizen requests. And 4, prepare a document of uniform criteria for parking restrictions. Item 5, invite attending citizens. We have none. I don't know that has ever
That's been a
happened.
long time.
Holy.
I'm gonna take credit for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No one's online, right? Nope.
No.
Nope.
Beautiful.
And that gets us to number 6, nominations and votes for a new chair. Do we have anyone who wants to nominate themselves or others? Carrie?
Nominate Clark.
Me?
That's okay, right?
That is
Okay.
okay.
I'm like, we did discuss this, right?
Get those pens.
Do we have any other nominations?
Coattailing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was afraid I was going to say it wrong.
No, good.
Coattailing.
Like good.
Coattailing.
Like go sailing.
So that's why I didn't say his last name. Clark Coattailing.
Okay.
Like go sailing.
That was me. Two vanillas.
No more nominations? In this case, do we vote? I guess
Better vote.
I guess we have to because because a majority has to approve.
You can do a vote by acclamation too, just as a voice vote. You don't have to do it.
Oh, yeah, right. All right, so I'm inclined to just hold your hand out. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. No one, that's unanimous.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thanks.
You
Are you done with the meeting? Is it done running the meeting then?
Running the rest of the meeting, or
No,
did you take over?
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, he takes over.
Yeah, that's a good way.
All right, oh, thank you. I've got it.
Okay, all right.
Well, thanks. Have a lot of respect, Chris, for how you've run the meetings for the last couple of years. Really have learned a lot about how to be organized and how to be respectful and thoughtful of everyone's opinions.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that input.
I really do. And it seems like it's a night for torch passing. So
It is.
thank you for passing the torch along. I was the vice chair, so we need to now conduct a vote for a vice chair. And I nominate Susan. You know, not just because you've been on the longest, but Terry has, but she has served her duty, and so has Chris.
Yeah.
But you've been a very thoughtful member and participated with us, so I nominate you, but I'm open obviously for any other nominations for vice chair. And technically this is a one-year term. I know you've stayed on longer than that, but we'll try to remember to redo this next August. So any other nominations for a vice chair at this time? Hearing none, is there a second?
A second.
All right, so any discussion about Susan? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Susan.
And
Congratulations.
I hope to do as good a job as Chris did, because really all I ever had to do was fill out an agenda once when he was on vacation. And then when he was gone for the next time, we canceled the meeting.
Yeah.
So-
That's right.
So-
I mean, the acting chair can actually cancel, so you can just do that.
Oh, I
That's actually like the lieutenant governor of North Carolina. Just you could take over if I'm not here. So.
Have a coup.
Definitely.
Excellent. So thanks. That brings us down to our old business. And the first topic on our old business is the tomorrow night at the city council meeting. Chris has graciously agreed to represent us as the parking proposal is put in front of city council. Laura, is there any more to that I need to know? Is there a discussion, or is it being presented to them?
So you all did a presentation.
Yep.
So
In a
what,
working session.
yes. And so what has been distributed in advance, or last week, we received your document, new requests for consideration with the revisions. And then also city manager today sent out the 3 departmental statements on the revised proposal, as well as a copy of the original proposal, so that everyone would be up to date on it. I don't expect a full presentation will happen. I mean, I don't expect a presentation at all. I think it'll be Q&A and probably just reviewing the changes that you made.
That was my assumption.
Yeah.
It would really be question and answer. So
And Chris, I'll be honest with you, most of my questions are for staff, because they're about
Uh-huh.
implementation and staff time and things like that. I'm sure council will have some questions for you too, but no proposal. And yeah,
I think
I
it's
hope
more-
that we'll make some decision tomorrow night too.
And it
I
would
hope
be
so.
more of maybe questions directed to you of what the intent was or what our process
sure,
was. Maybe.
right. And
Or
that was the
whatever.
reason I was afraid that being gone for, actually 2 meetings, 2 months, that I would not remember all the nitty-gritty details. So that's why I wrote out all those items right now. So
Yeah.
I think I'll be able to
And
do
I
it.
think, I mean, just from my perspective and looking, and I did side by side today of the two, and I mean, it's pretty clear that you all thought very seriously about the questions we asked and the things that came up in council. So, if council isn't ready to make a decision, that has nothing to do with the work you've done. That would be on us.
And I really appreciated all three department heads' comments, and they really
Yeah.
took time to review it and look at it, make some suggestions. And
Good.
Did that get distributed?
I
To
did
all
send
of
it
us?
around to
Okay.
everybody. So
Thank
if
you.
you can't find it, let me know. I'll resend it to you.
I will look.
And if anyone's able to hold Chris's hand tomorrow, feel free to
Aw.
come.
Well,
Thanks, Susan.
it'd be hard to be there alone.
It was at 7 tomorrow.
7:30 is the start of the regular meeting.
I could,
Yeah, so my thing is at 6:30, so I'm hoping to race over. And I think they said we would probably be on around 7:45.
Yeah, that's optimistic.
But
Yeah.
that's-
oh, that's optimistic, so closer to 8
Well,
maybe.
because we've got to talk about the new park design, the GRG partnership before that, and
Okay.
we have some unfinished business to do, and we have to give the firefighter the year award. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
guess closer to 8.
Okay. I might be
Not
there
that you
all
get
day.
to come at 8.
Oh, yeah.
No, well, I'll be
For
there
your,
at
for your
7:30.
support structure, people are coming in.
So you're saying there's a chance it could be firefighter of the year too? Sweet.
Were you up for that?
I mean, I've been on a couple fire scenes. That should count for something. Sorry.
Excellent. Well, that's good. I just, that's really our crown, the bulk of our work last year was this. And, whether it passes or not, it's out of our hands. I think we've really done our good job on that. And I think I'm proud of, we don't have it 100% correct, but
Yeah. And I was intrigued by how it evolved. Because it's completely different than when we first started talking about it. And I think that's something we should be proud of. We listened and we got good input. We incorporated it in our proposals.
good.
I did get some commentary, some emails about the parking proposal.
Okay.
And I think we've talked about it before in previous meetings. The folks on the 200 block of Sylvester have reached out to me because of the changes we made along Swan. They're saying that parking is now increased on their street. And I said that I would bring it to your all's attention and kind of have that conversation around this proposal. And then whatever I get back, feedback I get from you, I'll respond back to them.
We
In
think,
regards to that.
and we had a lot of people from Sylvester come to our meetings
Mhm.
and talk about how they felt like things were getting pushed to them, and if there was more equitable sharing up close, that it would be a more equitable thing. But I think that's
Their request is going to be for permit parking.
Don't they already have permit parking on some sections?
They do.
That's what I thought.
So this is the section, I got several emails about this as well directly to me. This is the section that is south of Swan, in which there is not resident parking currently. And a couple of them I sent the proposal to because I've corresponded with them over the course of the last year as we've discussed this. I will tell you, and Lieutenant Weimer, we just talked about this afternoon. I talked to the city manager about, do we want to go ahead and do a temporary thing like Swan as we finish up this and the school starts? And so that's for you and the city manager to discuss.
So as an interim until this thing is implemented, is that what you're thinking?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Well, I want to
We
be
have
careful
to-
because I don't want to say something tomorrow evening that is inappropriate or incorrect. So,
I don't think our proposal has anything to do with Swan, with Sylvester, so I
With
don't think,
specific streets at all.
right.
Right, so really what it would be doing is applying this before it's is to that block before, same thing we did on Swan. We
Yeah.
applied this before it was actually policy.
In Marshall Place, right? Or-
Well, yeah, somewhere else, but Marshall Place, yeah, I think that's right.
So I have a question about that. You that heard from them, do you feel that if this were applied to them directly, they'd be happy? Or they're like, we just don't like this going on?
So the residents I heard from clearly had talked to one another because the message was very similar, and that is that they didn't necessarily want to ban all student parking, but they needed some space on their street for them to park as well.
That seems like if we implemented it there, makes them happy. That's what it's
I
about.
would guess it would, but
No,
again,
I understand
that's-
that.
I heard from one of those residents yesterday, as a matter of fact, and she didn't say anything about parking, she was talking about crosswalks. Right there.
So is it mainly a problem during school hours or is it outside of school hours too?
well, so their real concern right now is school starting again and nothing's changed from last spring. And so it depends on how you define school hours.
I guess.
Yeah, so if you're thinking, is it a problem from 8 to
Yeah, that's what
3 or 8 to
that-
2?
yeah.
It's probably a problem a little longer than
7 to
that.
4 or something.
Yeah, just because of kids coming and going.
Where else would the kids park? Those, if they get displaced, where do they park?
They just go
That's-
further west,
that's-
which is
and
what's
this is-
happening.
That was gonna be my point.
Yeah.
Are we just pushing things further and further?
That's the point.
Yeah,
really.
that's
It's a
the point.
natural consequence. At least I kind of want to see, does everybody agree with that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Spreads it evenly.
Well, let's-
Spreads it evenly.
Time out. Doesn't this in fact provide many, many more parking places for students? Because now on streets that are currently no parking or resident only parking are now available to park. Hypothetically.
Well, because the students get permits?
No.
No,
No,
No.
right,
So Chris, the pivotal question there, and this will be a question that will be discussed tonight, is whether or not this is applied retroactive.
okay,
And I don't know the answer to that. I have no idea how council is gonna come down on that.
okay.
Why the word retroactive?
Because we have parking ordinances
Oh,
in
yes.
place for quite a number of streets.
At one point, we had said that we would invalidate those and put this in place instead.
Can I have a timeout? Because
yeah,
I think we had these discussions for over a year. We're done
Yeah,
with
you're
our
right.
proposal.
You're right.
It's really now for council to make changes or tweaks or what have you. I don't
And the
think
reason
we're,
we're discussing it isn't to rehash it, but will the citizens like the result of the work or not? Or are we getting unintended consequences? I'm okay with dropping it for right now, but that's gonna be, it'll come back to us.
I think the answer to your question is pretty simple. If you are on a block that is currently resident only, then you're gonna see this as us taking parking places away from you. If you are on a block that does not have resident parking, then this is a really a good deal. Because you didn't have parking, it was all filled up with students. Now we're giving you back half of that.
For our part, we acknowledge those compromises. Now, that's not, in the
Yeah,
end, you all.
And council hasn't made a decision, so I'm not gonna say it. And Lieutenant Wire brought this up because of the particular case of Sylvester. And maybe we should just leave that in the city manager's hands until we have some statement of what the policy is gonna be. Sorry, I didn't really mean to insert myself into your debate that
No.
way. I'm not supposed to do
we'll
that.
all get those. You're absolutely right. We'll all get those.
A little clarification though, if they do want permitting, they still have to go through the
Petition process.
petition process, correct? Is that still?
I mean, the process is, yeah.
I don't know
remains
for
the
an
same.
emergency ordinance, if they had to do that like on Swan. I don't know what your process is. The city manager.
The emergency process is not my process, it's solely up to the city manager, so that, I think we can just leave it with her for now.
did we add into, I'm sorry, because I missed the conclusion of our revisions. Did we ever come up with a permit process? Because by code, one doesn't exist.
There's a petition in
The
the,
In our
your proposal,
proposal,
there's a
okay,
petition.
I think.
I only know that because, as I said, I was comparing them
Oh,
today.
that's right. I'm sorry. Yes, I remember now. It's been a while. Okay. We, okay, copied that wording.
Up to speed.
Number 2 on old business is the Safe Streets for All. And I don't know if you want to do this in your comments at the end.
I can do
or-
it now since it's at this point
Okay.
on your agenda if you'd
Yeah,
like,
no,
and that
would be
way,
great.
when whoever's volunteering to be on that can know where we are. So I got a note from the city manager today. Staff is meeting, continue to meet with the Missouri Division of Highway, Federal Highway Administration, bi-weekly meetings, which is all grantees have to do that in an alternate. Sometimes it's the group of grantees together, sometimes it's our one-on-one, our being the city one-on-one about our proposal specifically. That's going on. Grant positions, so there's, if you recall, there are 2 public affairs and community engagement, which is a part-time position. Sean Finnegan, who is our part-time sustainability coordinator, agreed to take that other part-time. So she's now working for us full-time and she's fantastic. And so that one's in place. She's up to speed on the grant, is working on the task force.
I'm sorry, did you say both positions were filled?
No, we're on public affairs, just the public affairs for the moment. So she took that part-time position. And so she's working on the task force kickoff materials, the grant manager and community liaison position. They've interviewed quite a few candidates. There was a strong pool of candidates, and we either couldn't match the salary or people took other jobs beforehand. So at the moment, there is one grant manager job offer pending. So everyone keep your fingers crossed. And then for the community liaison process, there is a second interview Thursday. So hopefully, I think I misspoke, there are 3 rather than 2, and hopefully all 3 will be filled shortly. In the meantime, to be honest, the city manager is serving as the coordinator of the SS4A grant. So she is working on a doodle poll to invite participants for the kickoff meeting in September. The kinds of invitations to serve on that. So several boards and commissions, sustainability, green space, business development, parks rec. Obviously this commission, we've asked for both a high school and a middle school representative. The students, not the actual people who work in the building, Webster University, and also Chamber of Commerce. So that's coming together, and that's where we are at the moment.
So we have 1 slot to fill on that task force. And I would be willing to do it, but if anyone really is passionate about this kind of work, I don't want to hog up the slots from the Traffic Advisory Commission. I don't know right now what the workload would be. I imagine it would be at least a monthly meeting.
My guess,
maybe twice a month. I'm not sure as things get ramped up, but the recommendations will be for demonstration projects and other measures that come through that task force. So is anyone, I mean, honestly, if anyone is really interested in this, let me know, or because city manager has asked, she said we could wait, but I said, we're meeting today. She'd like to know by Wednesday.
So what would that task force be doing on a month-to-month basis?
I don't honestly know the answer to that question. Except for it's the mode of public input into, so for when a couple of our projects are collecting data, it would be the first presentation of data would go to this task force. Ideally, I think this task force then would help serve as a bridge to when we do a grant implementation grant afterwards, help us kind of think through some priorities.
And I think a big part is coming up with the demonstration projects, that they'll be working on with the data to present those.
Exactly, evaluating those and their progress. And the other thing is, not everybody on TAC, not everybody on the business development, a lot of it also is going to be coming back to this group and saying, here's what they're working on.
Yes.
Is there something that you want me to communicate to that group about what's before us at the moment? I mean, it really is as much of a liaison role to try and broaden the kind of input that they get as it is just being the singular person having the conversation in the room.
That sounds really interesting to me, but I would defer to you, Clark, if you want to, you said you're excited about it. So.
Yeah, no, I would, Eric, if you would be interested in that, I would more than willing to support you on that. I think it's.
Is anyone else interested? I'm the new guy, so if anyone else is interested, I'll support anyone else.
No, I think
are you interested?
No, I'm not. But I ask that whoever does it commits to, bringing information back to us.
Yes.
And sharing our thoughts. Just that's what I would want that person to do.
So, I mean, the reason I'm interested is a lot of my professional life, I have a lot of interactions with Federal Highway Administration. So I think maybe I know some of that language or speak some of that. So that's what my interest is.
And also, just so you all know, if you take this role and you can't be there, Clark can go in your stead so that communication link is not lost.
Good. I would more than happy for you to do that, Eric, to be our tag. I totally agree with that we need to hear what's going on, and whether it's after a task force meeting, a written report, or just a part on the agenda, that's really, really important, I think, to get out there, because we've, over the past couple of years, come up with several ideas which we think would be great projects. They haven't necessarily come through for various reasons. I think we're farther at a stage now that the city might be more interested in pursuing some of those. Plus, we have $2 million to make it happen, which is helpful. So,
And keep in mind that the demonstration projects are outlined in the grant.
Yeah.
So it's not coming up with new projects, but it's helping to implement those so that we then have a proof of concept for the broader implementation grant, which is where those ideas that you have, I think, would be included or could be included.
We'll communicate if you can't make a meeting or whatever. I will be more than happy to fill in on that.
I'm definitely have to give it a shot. If no one else, but I'll defer to anyone else with more seniority.
No, I nominate Eric to be our representative on the Safe Streets for All Task Force. And any seconds?
No, second, yeah.
All right, all in favor? Aye. I will let, are you gonna let Marie know, or I will let Dr.
Why don't you do it officially as chair? You can have your first act
I
as
will.
the official chair.
This is
And
awesome.
by the way, I noticed in the minutes, it looks like you spelled my name wrong, my last name wrong. It's T-O-M-A-N. You do the minutes, right?
T-O-M-A-N?
Yeah. I think you had a T-O-L-L.
I thought she spelled it Christopher.
You have two now.
Toman. Perfect.
Okay,
Thank you, Eric.
I hope I did a good job.
All right, Planthurst and Jefferson, do you have an update on that?
Yeah, I sent back an email to the person who requested just to simply, and I shared that in the study.
So maybe we do.
Yeah, we had to do several because the data wasn't.
No, we did we had one and it was corrupted, and we did another one, and I think that one was like the week one that we did.
And he said that there was construction, so we did another one because he said the construction was causing
Is that
issues.
the crosswalk?
No, this is a stop sign. And essentially, when all those data points came back, the speeds were low,
Like
way below. There was no real other criteria that I sent. It didn't meet any of them. So
I'm confused on, so we're looking at a stop sign request, but we're basing it on speeds only?
no, it's a
or-
whole list of seven.
Yeah.
Is it people on concerned about speeding on Planthurst or on Jefferson?
Both. He was saying that
Well, there's no, on Jefferson going north-south, there's no stop sign.
Yeah.
There is on Planthurst, and I thought that part of it was people coming off Planthurst were worried about people speeding by and couldn't get off Planthurst
Yeah,
safely.
because it was a little bit of a side obstruction a little bit there.
But there's some brush there too. I don't know whose responsibility that is to cut that out.
Site distance. I was just curious because I don't remember, was that data shared with us or? not
Yes.
shared?
Thank you. We did that.
We've been on a hiatus. for
I
too long.
had, but when I looked at the data, it was only mid-block volumes and speeds, which is not, I mean, you would need speeds at the intersection or volumes at the intersection. Just, I'm purely basing it on our stop sign warrants for the city.
There been any accidents here?
I can try to find what I sent,
I'll look too.
but I'm not gonna be able to do that on my phone.
I was just curious. I mean, really, it's the city's data and it's,
That's.
I'm just-
North is this way. So,
So we get the cameras on the wall right there.
okay.
And so basically
Well, I mean, I can see how you, during the, like, spring and summer and fall, you got,
you have to pull forward a little bit.
yeah, right, and it could get a little goofy.
So it's just kind of this how the.
Okay, they have a stop sign. So if they have a stop sign there, though, these people are already looking before they,
Yeah, but again,
Enter.
but if they stop at the stop wherever it's there.
and then if they can't see from the, yeah.
So that's the initial.
What about like what about like one of those reflector mirrors right there? so that they can cover that.
It could,
I mean, that was ugly. People might not like that.
We've tried that on another project and we were told no.
Oh,
I
was
don't,
it aesthetics? Was the reason why?
I don't remember why, but it was previous iteration of this group is all I'll say. And that one probably did meet criteria.
Do homeowners have any obligation to trim their bushes at intersections?
They do.
in some regard. Basically, if we get a request, if it's like vegetation, if it's on the right of way and they plant stuff there, then yes. But I have to give notices for people to trim that back.
Right, on their own, right? I mean, is that the sort of thing you were talking about?
In a way, I know obviously for wherever the stop bar is located, it's kind of tricky because if we're closer
See,
towards
look,
where
it's not just the plant. You're
But,
kind of
yeah.
have a hill there too.
so it's in the perfect spot to be annoying.
Yeah, it is.
So Eric, where does it stand? Is it the data that you had
Did not support.
did not
installation
support?
of the
And Carrie, you want to verify that, I guess?
I mean, I don't know that that's our role. I was just curious because it looked like we didn't have data at the intersection, so. Just from
So-
our standpoint.
What's the speed limit on?
25.
Say 25.
So have they been notified?
Yes.
Okay, so this can come off of our list.
Actually, is it fair to tell them we could talk to the homeowner or something? With the bushes that can be trimmed? I mean, we want to help people. Is that reasonable or is that like, nope, that's not our kind of thing?
Good question.
It feels like it could be pretty simply solved, but they gotta work together.
Yeah, I agree.
Could turn it over to a renegade group, but that seems inappropriate.
So that's private property where that,
So I mean, the right of way goes into the little bit, so we have some leeway and say, but I mean, it's more the geometric of where it's at. If the stop bar was closer to where that street was, I could blame on the bushes if you wanted to put it that way. But I mean, you have to pull forward in even almost into the street to even get it, and then that's where if the bushes at that point were sticking out, then that's when we usually get involved.
Were there speeds on Jefferson collected or just Planthurst?
It was just that traffic pole that's right there on Jefferson. That's where you had the counter set up, and so it counted basically everything right there at Jefferson. And so the Jefferson speeds are the ones that, from I remember, they were mostly below the speed limit.
And I mean, we're relatively confident that the issue's probably not on this side. It's probably.
Well, I mean, so it was facing out this way at an angle.
I'm sorry, we're looking at it on my computer. You
Yeah,
guys
so
can't.
the utility pole that's right there, that's where I had them set up, and that's where, so it was kind of basically getting everything on Jefferson, because that was the concern. With that, I figured how much volume we had, it was very low, but I know the speed limits were like,
The volume was a big piece of the study, and there's not much volume on this.
That's not just that's a tree. It's not a bush.
yeah, I have a friend that lives on Planthurst, and I told
I
him
think we're talking about this right here. I'm
about
guessing.
this request, and they said they
It's
simply
right
need to cut
behind
that
it.
back. They said
It
the
was
city
like
should do it, but I didn't know
before.
whose responsibility.
Where's your right of way? What's your right of way?
Oh, and there's one in the
Usually
intersection too.
it's about 5 feet going into the property, so we can go basically back to the hill,
The curve.
so we can have a little bit of say there, and that's kind of where I can take a look at it and do what I can and make sure I'm within the rights to do so.
And if you are within the rights, I would want to make sure that we notify them,
Yeah, that'd be a green tag.
right?
Those little green tags you see.
Yeah, I've never seen one.
Well, you didn't get that.
All right, number 4 is Bush Terrace.
Same information. The city did turn back bushes, and that seemed to
Oh,
help with the situation. But again, the data was traffic volume, speeds did not support.
What that one?
And they've been notified.
I shared that
also?
data with you, and they
that
were
one I
notified as well.
remember seeing,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
But there again, just for the record, just because I always think about how we respond to people. It was only volumes mid-block. So if they're asking for a stop sign at an intersection, just making sure that we're getting intersection volumes, because that's what the stop sign warrant for the city is based on. I assume you guys are, but we didn't see them, so. I just hate telling people we did a thorough study if we didn't.
Sorry.
Nope, that, I agree with you. Number 5 was, the ordinance that was put in place for Marshall Place.
Yes,
We had, I don't know, 20 or 30 people from Marshall Place here. They're not here today, so I'm assuming.
have had, pretty good feedback on that. Haven't had any complaints about it. One resident on North Elm complained that people are not parking on his street because of that.
But North Elm can handle that, right?
I mean, it's a very
Perspective?
small street. And he said that the main reason was that there's a pickleball court, people use, it's like people use the pickleball court and. I don't know what to say about people parking on public street.
There's not a lot.
So, yeah, apparently it's like they let anybody use it.
Is that, how, was that 90 days? How long is that in place?
That I couldn't tell you what the exact date was.
It's
Let me
like,
put that up.
but it's like 60 or 90 days, right?
Yeah.
Is the length of what it?
The emergency ordinance, yes. I'd have to look.
So potentially,
That could just be a permanent solution to the problem.
okay, well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, especially because they were clearly, like loudly and often, it's described as a real problem.
But they also, I think, came across as, we understand it's a public street, we want to share it.
Yep.
So I mean, I think this is a great demonstration of how, in a congested area, how the parking ordinance could work.
Yeah, let's check on that. I feel like it was an emergency and we did it was emergency because we did 3 readings in 1 meeting,
Correct.
but that doesn't mean that it's temporary.
Oh,
So we probably need to just double check the language on the ordinance.
I will do that.
Well, and having to do with the sudden opening of the business that affected the street all at once. So. It's
Kind of out of the way.
Okay. And then the final old business, Valley Park,
That the
Valley Road.
signs are up. There we go.
Is that no parking on Wednesdays? That went up?
It's no parking for trash days, and it's not necessarily just Wednesdays. It could be whenever the trash day gets back.
Okay.
I'm laughing because we had a long conversation.
Okay, yeah.
It was all about,
I
how
remember
is anybody gonna know what trash day is?
that's what because I saw the minute. I was reading the minute. I really did.
Well, I don't know exactly. There was some discussion of putting like a trash day is little addition if it became.
Because everyone knows their own trash day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna
That's
say.
right.
And I think one of the emails we got was
Yeah.
Today was free trash day.
one of the emails we got was somebody who had a contractor parked on their street, and then the trash truck didn't come down. Well, that contractor's not gonna know when they come back next time. Anyway, okay,
That's funny.
yeah,
Well, it's gonna heighten awareness. Homeowner might say, see the sign.
yeah,
see
it's trash
things,
day.
it still work, right?
If somebody notices
Theory.
it and they point it out to the person saying, hey, today's trash day, and there's actually something that enforceable. So I don't think it's something.
Or at least call me and I show up. Say, hey, you gotta move.
Yeah, like it gives us an ability to enforce if somebody is. And that was Valley Park.
Excellent. On to new business. I see a little typo here. I don't think it's 20,024. I don't think we're all going to be alive in that year, but I would like for our next meeting to have an agenda item discussing what our priorities and goals should be for 24-25. I think if you look at our goals, number 4 here, for last year, we've done a really good job, I think, on except for the complete streets, we've had a lot of discussions about that. It really moved into the Safe Streets for All. I think that's sort of a natural progression. But I would love for us to come up with 2 or 3 goals, priorities that we can work on to make recommendations to City Council, and they may or may not take them on. I am really passionate about crosswalks.
So Kirk, let me just remind you, remember you all submitted a work plan. And so before we start on new things, and I honestly on the top of my head remember the work plan. Let's make sure that, because council has already agreed to everything that's in your work plan.
Right.
So when you start adding things, you're then moving beyond what
And I
council
think
has really supported. And if this is your idea of here's what we're gonna put on next year's work plan, I get that too, because you're gonna need to spend some time thinking about what that's gonna look like.
Right.
But I also just won't, and this really isn't about you, this is about a couple other commissions who submitted a work plan and are just doing, I'm not even sure what.
So what is the function of the work plan that defines the scope of what you're?
Yeah, so you're an advisory committee for us when it comes to policy, and so us being the city council. So what we don't want is you spending months and months and months working on something that council really isn't interested in thinking about or approving. So the work plan at least gives council the idea that, hey, this is what you want to explore. We agree that that's a good thing for you all to explore. Or it's something that, or we might sometimes say, we want to put something in the work plan for you.
A work plan's annual?
They are. And they're part of it. And this just started, so I understand we're all getting used to it. And they're submitted with your budget request.
Yeah, I will send that to everybody just as a reminder.
Thank you.
I was gonna say, I don't think we have it.
Yeah, I will send that to everybody, and then the goals that I hope we come back with next week fit within those goals, you know, so for instance, we asked for a budget of 2,500 or 30, some amount of money for educational programs. That has to be part of our goal for next year. Like discussing, what does that mean? We have money now to put on some education. Is that for other commissions? Is that for the citizens? Is that for city council? Is that, you know, what would those involve? And then we'll need to have a subgroup pulled together for education.
So I get it. You're saying that these goals should be within the work plan. But is it reasonable for us to brainstorm a bit and share that with small investment of our time to council on, here's what we're thinking about for next year? I mean, how do you get a work plan if you just do it in one day at the last minute?
And I think what you're proposing is absolutely fine, but remember, we work on the fiscal year, not the calendar year. So when we say next year, I think let's be careful.
Right.
Because I think you're really, so the 2025.
2031?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think Clark really is, and I'm sorry if I sidetracked this conversation, but Clark is talking about working, for better or worse, underneath that work plan, yeah, and doing some of that. I agree, Robert, that at some point this commission, before submitting budget and work plan, should have a discussion about what's the next couple of things that we think council should be paying attention to, because let's be honest. Sometimes we have those ideas, but we rely on you all for a lot of those ideas too.
The key takeaway I heard was don't run away with something and come to council 6 months later with some big old thing that you've done.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of talking about the idea of early communication.
So, and this typically, you know, we'll start the budget cycle discussions within the city in January. And this commission should by March, probably. I think that's about the right time. In February, March, have a discussion about what you think you're going to need money for, and that coincides.
Exactly.
Because we'll start reviewing the full budget in April, and you need to put together what it is you're going to ask us for. And the work plan is, why are you asking us for money? And maybe there's some things you want to do that don't require money,
But for instance, the parking proposal was sort of in our goals. It wasn't part of a work plan because that wasn't done before.
Right.
So we came up with our own goals and objectives. And that parking proposal was one of our goals and objectives of what we worked on. So we do have the work plan that has our, you know, objectives, and education is what they basically gave us money to do.
And it still needs fleshing out too anyway.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
So we're working under work plan now that started basically August 1st and through
July 1st
through June 30th of next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll send that out to everybody. But and I want people to think about what do you think would be something, you know, city council relies on us to give recommendations and also to come back if they ask us to review something. You know, what are some of those things that with regards to traffic advisory, we could really do the legwork on, do the research, do all the work and present to them. And I'll just say it again, I am passionate about crosswalks in this community because, you know, we had sort of a decision made at our last meeting that we were gonna put a crosswalk at Cedar and Elm, and the signs went up and then the signs came down. And there was somebody at our June meeting who was, passionately spoke about how dangerous that would be. And I cross that intersection all the time. And just putting paint there could possibly be very dangerous because people speed down there forever. But possibly a redesign or, a better thing than just the signs, might be what we need. So we might need to develop a crosswalk policy, with different levels of, a really important one, and it's going to be redesigned. It's going to be more expensive, and one that's just paint. But
Or like on Lockwood, which has come up before in front of the restaurants.
yeah,
So did
Nothing has changed there.
exactly.
And I hear about it from people when they find out I'm on this.
So that got pulled from one person's comments?
I don't know. Paul might be able to answer this.
So I
but
live on Cedar and I crossed there. I crossed it a few times after it started being put in place, and it was a staring contest at 45-mile-an-hour cars.
exactly.
And I was like, yeah, he's right. This is not.
No, I did too. Now they didn't put the paint. They didn't put the paint across Elm. They just put the signs up, and there were dotted lines. If you were walking, you could see them. But it was it's a staring contest at 45 miles an hour.
Nothing works right the first 2
But
weeks
with
that it's
his
installed, and it
comment,
wasn't even
his
installed
comment
first.
was good.
Is that the issue?
I'll try and paraphrase it or state it as close as I can. He said he's been involved in traffic a lot. If the volume and traffic speeds are high enough, then the crosswalks actually get a negative.
Because people think that it's safe to cross there and it causes a
Yeah.
place for cars
I
to
thought-
put them, right?
The way Aaron captured it was good. He said they would be more safe with additional treatments such as
Yeah,
signage,
right.
lights,
Right.
and that is very true.
And that
But not having those things doesn't make them less safe.
right.
So
I-
paint is always adding safety.
Here's his comment.
He actually said it didn't because people would trust it and
Yeah,
it
she
would fail.
just read it.
That's not research. That's
No, it was
That's-
huge. He claimed it as a research position. I'm not saying it's true,
yeah.
but it was not, and it
But
was
I
credible.
guess I was a little concerned because it was something that was agreed upon and here, and then they just went down. And there was I don't think there was any communication to you.
No.
There was no communication to me. I just happened to notice the poles were up there without any signs all of a sudden.
I did. I took them down because I was concerned and it was a safety issue and the signs weren't enough.
Right.
So I said, we'll take them down for now. We'll figure out
Hey,
how best to move forward in the future.
I figure we're all willing to keep discussing this, right? It's not like, oh, it's down and we're done.
No, I think that the reason why it's passionate to me is I think we have a real crosswalk problem in this city. Someone who walks 8 to 12 miles a day notices it. I mean, I bet nobody knows there's a crosswalk from across Commerce Bank, across the street down, across Big Bend at Commerce Bank, going over to
Going to the
County
pipe.
just came and freshened up that paint a couple weeks ago because we asked them to.
I was gonna ask.
I don't think they've done that one yet.
Which one are you talking about? Going to the high
They
school?
told me, no, the one
Big
by, Balkan.
Balkan Tree Bugs.
Like the
Oh.
annex.
There's a crosswalk there,
Mhm.
and you can't, as a pedestrian, you gotta cross it. And again, it's just paint and signs, and it's the way, I hate to say it, how Missourians drive. You go to other cities that have paint and people stop.
They just came off a highway. They've been driving 55. Their brain hasn't slowed down yet.
Well, they just came through a stop controlled signal, so they didn't just come off a highway.
You know, but
It's come through
psychologically.
stuff.
Also, it's a lot of non-local
Yeah,
traffic going.
well,
through.
there's one. There's, across Kirkham to the school district building is probably the most unsafe crosswalk in town. So this is, do you know where the school district building is on Kirkham? There's a church there, and on Sundays, they turn the sign to have a stop.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking
church.
about. Yes, that is a dangerous crossing.
That is, I mean, at
I know
night,
exactly
at
what you're
night,
talking about.
you're putting your life at risk to cross that. There's no flashing lights.
Yeah.
It's not
They
really,
just shoot through
Right
churches.
there, right?
And they have
Yeah,
crosswalks.
church right there.
Yeah, and so usually what they
That's
have
re-
is
that
they
is
have, they
dangerous.
have,
Yeah.
But they don't leave those up.
residents or our churchgoers there will volunteer as flaggers.
Yeah, and Sunday morning,
Yeah, Sunday
it's
morning,
crazy.
it's like-
Yeah, it's like
Because
you're.
even when I drive through there personally, I always forget, I'm like, oh, that's right, it's a stop sign.
Yeah, I mean, all I'm saying is I think we, like our parking proposal, I think we could really have a really good crosswalk ordinance that, it puts some things, some guidelines in place. You know, the one you're talking about, by the block, it has the little tiny flashing yellow lights that nobody can see. And people whiz down there at 40, 45 miles an hour, including city buses. I mean, so I think the research shows that when you have use of crosswalking elements that calm traffic and do things, now that's expensive. So that can't be everywhere, but I think we could have levels of crosswalks and.
I totally agree. I just think if we can't even get past step 1, how are we gonna get to step 6?
Right.
So that's why I'm frustrated.
Does the city employ like a consulting engineer or anything on that type of stuff?
Isn't there a traffic engineer on,
There's a
staff?
civil
Civil
engineer.
engineer?
You shake
So-
your
Is it you?
head.
Is it you?
The new director of
I'm sorry.
Public Works is a civil engineer, but yeah.
I'm an engineer as well, but I know that role has been left blank for a while, so I've been helping out.
And no offense to the different positions, but sometimes people aren't aware of some of the newer things that are out there.
Well, because I was gonna say,
Working.
yeah, like there should be guidelines and. that
And there
should-
are national, sort of guidelines.
Yeah.
But I think we need to be more, there's no, from Murdoch to Laclede, there isn't one crosswalk.
So did anyone ever share with this group the 7 demonstration projects for Safe Streets for All? Because I'm pretty sure there's there's an actual study for this kind of thing.
They were,
in there.
I don't believe I've ever seen that.
they were shared with us after that. We did see them. We weren't part of the
I
recommendation,
knew that part.
but they were shared with us.
Do you have it, Ben?
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna
I'll
say.
send that.
Who did the study? Do you know? Because maybe I
It's
remember.
not been done yet. It's part of
It's
the,
part-
part of
Oh.
the
It's
grant.
when we use the
To
money.
commission the study.
Okay.
I'd like to say that when I joined this commission, I agree with what Clark's saying. I was shocked that there weren't more ordinances and things in place to provide for the entire city. Like this section has this going on and this has this going on.
Right.
Like the crosswalk thing. There's no real plan for it citywide
That's weird.
and levels and things like that, because like with the parking and the permit thing, I started paying attention. I think I talked to you about that.
We also use it.
I live
Facebook
around
as well.
Nearings, and every block has a different parking by permit only, resident parking on these days. Every block, about 4 blocks down, has a different set of signage for the residents concerning that high school.
Right.
And I was, after being on this commission, I was like, wow.
So I think
Start noticing.
our goal of a complete streets ordinance, it sort of encompasses all of that. Cities that have enacted those look at crosswalks and street.
Well, I feel like
design and
That's a great place to
traffic
start.
calming.
Find someone who's done it really well and then
Right.
say, but it's,
Yeah, so I'll send these things out we've discussed. I will send out our working plan for the year, so our goals sort of fit on that. We can have
I'm
that.
curious, can anyone think of a local municipality that does crosswalks really well?
Kirkwood
Yeah, Kirkwood,
does them great.
Even
Clayton.
though we're not supposed to like them.
They have race crosswalks. They
Are
have
there-
tabled intersections.
Does
They have it all.
anyone else have any other new business?
I have a question.
Yes.
This may be new business, but more a question. So 2 months ago at our meeting, I know we were in the process of this new, implementing this new process for citizens to make requests. So is that change in any way? Do we have any new guideline, any new, like a process flow diagram about how
Well, we created that spreadsheet and then there was some discussion on who would be responsible for taking.
and where did that land?
We
So I would say at the moment, because we had turnover in Director of Public Works,
Oh,
and she
okay.
was one of the primary authors in working with us, and we had some change. Basically, every department that touches that, we had some leadership turnover. So I think it's probably, I know the a form online has been updated so that it does a lot better job of tracking and it goes more efficiently to which department it's supposed to go to.
Okay,
In terms of actually coming up with the actual criteria of what comes here versus what Public Works can do itself versus what the police department can do itself.
that's still up.
That's
And I think
Yeah.
we've agreed that if people approach us, we send them to the fix-it form at least.
Okay.
And I think Eric right now is doing a good job of capturing that and sending it
Okay.
to us.
The reason I bring this up is that I have one that I want to submit. I don't think it's appropriate for me to kind of spill it out here on the table. It's out on the agenda. But so I would like to go through the process. I would volunteer for what it's worth. If you want to create a documented step-by-step process for doing this, I wouldn't mind doing that and then kind of going through that to see how it works. I'm offering that.
Well, I think right now, I mean, if you don't mind, Chris, is this a policy change? Is this a
No,
particular?
It's a
placement?
tracking, I think it's a tracking things that come to us.
No, I understand what the bigger problem is.
No, I
He's got a specific
A
instance.
specific incident that I just saw a near accident
Okay,
just a couple days ago, but it's been building for a long time. It's where South Elm runs into
Jackson.
no, not Lockwood. Yeah, because you have O&O.
It's train tracks?
No, right? South Elm.
so, okay, you said you didn't want to get into the details, so we don't have to. I don't want to
Right.
get us sidetracked here. So that would go into the fix-it form, because when it goes to the
Okay.
fix-it form, it automatically then will go into our magnet system,
Great.
which all departments have access to.
Okay.
And that's how, right?
Then
Eric,
it gets to.
I should be letting you two do the talking. I don't know why I'm doing the talking.
So yeah, so basically, once we get it from city mail, it goes to the departments, and then obviously if it's Public Works, it goes to us, if it goes to street maintenance, it's street maintenance, and vice versa.
And how do I submit it? Who do I hand it to?
So I
It
believe
goes
it's
on-
all online.
It's online.
Oh, it's online.
Electronic.
Sweet. So
It's
the
a
city
website.
website. Fantastic.
Form.
That resolves it.
Were you volunteering to track stuff, or were you just talking about that one incident?
No, I was saying, I guess what I was trying to say was, it's something that I've done in the past and other work that I've been involved in to develop a step-by-step process flow diagram for how things are to be submitted, what copies go where, who receives them, who approves them. It's a complicated process, and it's helpful to have a diagram to kind of make a picture of that process. So I was offering to do that, but if you guys are working on it, then I'll back out.
We're still a little bit trying to figure out what needs to be
Sure.
filtered to TAC versus what needs to stay within departments. And so we're still figuring that out.
Okay.
Your timing is good. Eric and I were just talking about this
Yeah, we
today.
were just talking about this today, and so, I mean, if you create a fix-it form, it will ultimately come to me. I usually get it and I will respond back in an email.
Okay. All
And then
right.
I'm usually working with Paul to figure out how we're gonna address that and if it needs to come to TSC.
Okay.
If it's something that can be handled quickly within the city without coming to TAC, that's what we'll take care of it before even.
And Chris,
it's to me.
I mean, if they're looking for someone to
Oh, believe me, I
call on,
have a note in that. We just have to figure out what exactly it looks like, and because right now, one of the things you're talking about is branching, right?
Yeah.
Which we don't know what the branches are yet.
Sure.
We don't know what's gonna go in what direction. So until we're there, I think that's the challenge.
Okay. All right, so to take care of this problem, I will fill out a fix-it form and I'll get it to
I
you.
mean, currently I'm sitting on 2 requests, but I'm waiting on one of the requests was the parking, and that's going to council. That was a Sylvester one. I haven't had a lot of requests recently come my direction.
Okay.
There was someone that was requesting stop signs, but they wanted to wait till the school got in session before we ran those studies, and typically what we do is we do a traffic study, and honestly, until we do those traffic studies, it really doesn't need to come to Stacy's attention.
Okay,
So
you'll see it. I'll get it to you. Quick.
Does anyone else have any other new business you'd like to bring up? Then before, I guess our next meeting is on my calendar anyway, for September 16th. Is that, Eric, do you have that?
give me a sec.
I've got it on my calendar.
Me too.
And I also have October 21st. It looks like our next
Yeah,
two.
September 16th.
I got that one too.
And I got November 18th.
Yeah.
So I guess
think
we're
it was
set through the
serious.
year.
Yeah.
We're
You guys
serious.
asked me to do that, I did.
The
We
ordinance says
appreciate
we
that
need
very
quarterly.
much.
I think we're doing 3 times as much work because the ordinance says.
Well,
at
we
least
don't
quarterly.
necessarily have to meet if there's not,
We like each other.
like,
If we meet regularly, it keeps it from hopefully running over.
The only other,
Yeah, hopefully.
the only other thing I'd like to bring up before I turn it over to the mayor is, I do think it's important to get to know people on parallel or other commissions, and attending their commission meeting once a year maybe might be a good idea, just to see how they conduct business, or if you're interested. On Wednesday, this is short notice, and I'm going to be out of town, unfortunately. There's a special Parks and Rec commission meeting being held at the Rec Center at 7 o'clock. And the sole topic is about the naming of the new aquatic center. The North Webster Neighborhood Coalition has proposed naming the Rec Center complex after Benny Gordon, who this room is named after. But if those of you who don't know your Webster history, in the late 40s and early 50s, our pool was built, and they weren't letting Black Americans use the pool, so it went to court in Clayton. Clayton said you have to integrate it. Webster closed the pool for 2 or 3 years, as opposed to integrating it, because they said they didn't have the money to drain it after every time Black people swim in the pool. He really led the effort to get that overturned.
Was he a citizen?
Yeah.
And I would say equally importantly, as a result of that, we became a charter city, changed entirely who was the elected leadership and the structure of our city government.
Yes. I mean, it's a huge moment, over many years in Webster history.
The
And
meeting is not published on the website. Is that because it's special?
It should be. I
Not
will
on
send
the
a moment.
city calendar.
I will send something right now.
I was just gonna say, because I was looking at the calendar as you said that, because I was looking for tomorrow's council meeting.
yeah, so if you're interested or able to attend that just to show support, or you want to speak at their comments, feel free to do it, although you're looking for the meeting.
Yeah, unless I'm missing it, but the only thing on Wednesday is Crossroads Business District.
Well, I will see what we can do here.
With that,
I'll send that email after we do this. Yes, just a couple of updates.
mayor moments.
Yes, mayor moments. Is that what we're gonna call
I
it?
think.
Okay. The Lakota group, who is doing our comprehensive plan, is gonna be in town later this week. They are gonna be out doing some tabling and talking to residents at the gazebo series this Friday. So if you happen to be there and you want to talk comp plan, please do.
What time?
I think 6:30. And then if you go to the website journey2wg.com, they have up there the engagement summary for their first phase of research they did about Webster in the spring and early summer. You can take a look at that, and if you have comments, there are places for you to submit comments. So again, it's journey2wg.com. And then also, they're going to be our work session speaker tomorrow night. They're going to summarize the engagement summary for us during the council meeting. So you could come. You can also, starting on Wednesday, watch the recording if you'd like to, because that'll be a part of that. We have a new director of public works who started today, Sinan Absalon. Got any better for me yet?
He's in told me his last name.
Okay, well, there you
I
go.
think I just saw him carrying a box in here. It said, I'm a new employee.
Oh,
Public work,
okay then.
you know, he's trying to get in it says,
yeah.
they locked the door at 5.
So he comes immediately from the private sector, but was director of public works at U City for quite a while. We also have a new director of planning, Robert Myers, who comes to us from St. Charles County. Was their director of planning. I got an earful from the director of administration at St. Charles, who was really mad that folks told him. One of the things you're going to hear a lot about over the next probably couple months, and probably read also already, is Plan Commission is considering a proposal by KVC and Children's Hospital to do a residential hospital for youth on the site. The Plan Commission will continue to discuss that. I'm sure you'll learn more about it, but there is a second public hearing that before council. So I just suggest that you pay attention to that, and we're going to work our way through the proposal, and I will not state any position on anything because I have to vote on it a little bit later, but I do encourage you to pay attention to what KBC has to say, what the neighbors have to say, and you do have an opportunity if you would like to speak at that public hearing at the council level.
How soon?
Well, I don't think it's possible that Plan Commission can finish their consideration the first week of September, which would send us to it in October. I think probably it's more realistic to think that we'll get it sometime in November at the city council or the second half of October.
That'll be the public comment.
That'll be the public hearing portion.
My wife was sending me things. There's a lot of stuff on Facebook.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Facebook is not public engagement. Facebook is Facebook, and if people have something to say, they need to get in touch with us directly.
And I would add to that there's a lot of misinformation on Facebook too. So I appreciate your, saying that come to hear, both sides,
right?
But hear it in person as opposed to. I've seen so many posts there that are like, "Hey, I heard this on another side, and I heard this," and it's like.
It's an asymmetric issue, which is the worst kind. Everybody will complain, they'll stand up for something, right? And then they're intimidated by the other.
Right, that's it for me.
Excellent.
Oh, no, it's not it. It's not it. I have one last thing.
You knew it.
Chair and vice chair, you will be invited to a meeting in September. We're going to do this annually now to meet with all the boards and commissions, chair and vice chair, talk about sunshine, talk about process, talk about we'll do a little bit of how can we run a better meeting.
I already told her all she has to do is
No, I can't.
come to a meeting if I
That's
miss it.
extra.
And with that, we will have the introduction of the first ever board and commission member handbook, which I've spent the last 6 months on. So we will distribute that in September to you all as well. And hopefully it will help you all do your jobs well. You're already doing them well, but there are lots of questions all the time, and hopefully it'll answer some questions.
It's exciting.
Yeah. Great. All right, now I really am finished.
Excellent.
Mr. Chairman.
We do have one opening on our commission. So if you know anybody, encourage them to apply. My understanding is our commission is made up of 7 members and 2 alternates. So we really have 2 alternate openings and a regular member. So if you know anyone that's interested, have them apply to city council. We could use another member. With that, if there's nothing else, I would call for us to adjourn.
I'm going to ask, are there any other openings on other commissions that need to be filled also? It's kind of not our issue, but if we're talking to our friends about
Yeah,
this,
no, if you go to the
Yes.
website, there's a list of openings. Go to the boards and I think it's it. If you go to the boards and
Just boards and
commission
commission
tab,
page, there's
there's a list of openings.
Okay.
And you're not allowed to apply for another
No,
one,
no,
transfer. We don't want you to.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like the St. Charles mayor yelling.
They can look and see if we can get
No, I agree.
No, I agree. I don't want to yell at the sustainability commission. Why did you steal our guy? And I think Robert is collecting these. I don't think they would have come back
Would they go to you?
No, they would not.
Volunteer as well.
You made them, you get to meet them.
We all made them. Yeah, I was gonna say, definitely my, I looked at it and I was like, oh, it's my handwriting.
Yeah, I was thinking, who has crappy handwriting?
We adjourn?
No, not
We're
officially.
Yeah, we adjourned.
We are. I didn't hear
A motion to adjourn.
Motion, yes.
There we go.
I was being.
I don't
I didn't
know
have a
that-
second or a vote.
No.
I just called for it.